beautiful dolly friends. I'm Dr. Doll, and welcome back to making an Asari American Girl Doll. So this is kind of where we left off. I did do a little bit more sanding, and I gave her some deeper grooves in between where those tendrils are supposed to be on the top of her head. And now I am going to cover her eyes with some Play-Doh. I got this tip from KV at Dallas Doll Co. It's a great way to cover the eyes when you're painting, or if you're spraying like a matte spray like Mr. Super Clear. You can use a little bit of painter's tape, or she suggested I try some Play-Doh, and since I have some young kiddos at home, Play-Doh is aplenty around here, so I figured I'd give it a try. So this is like the third or fourth time that I have tried to color match and paint the cured and sanded epoxy sculpt. Every time that I had painted it in the past, I realized that the sanding wasn't quite smooth enough. So this is the last time. I'm not going to do any more sanding. I am done. After 3 weeks, I've decided enough's enough. So I just tried to match the color of her skin as close as possible, and I'm going to be painting over all of that sanded epoxy sculpt. So in part one of this making an Asari American Girl Doll series, which you should definitely watch if you haven't, link in the description box below. In part one, I changed my mind about the facial markings. Originally I was going to go with something really elaborate, and then I ended up deciding that I was going to scratch that and go with something a little bit more like human-like, a little bit more like Liara Tassoni, and I used her eyebrows as a reference, and they're not really eyebrows, at least for Asari, but they kind of look like eyebrows, and they were really thin and kind of difficult to paint on. And then I gave her some really cute little like dark blue freckles. And this is how she looks now. Pretty happy so far. So now I'm just going to use that blue skin tone that I had matched with the dye, and I'm doing some variants on it, so making a lighter shade of the same tone and a darker shade so that I can bring out the highlights and the areas I want to highlight and the areas that I want to create shadows with a little bit better. So once I had created some dimension with paints, I go in with pastels and just kind of blur the lines a little bit better, so sweeping dark colors into the creases, into the crevices where the shadows would be, and then trying to use a lighter color on the tips, on where, you know, highlights, where the light would touch, just trying to make it look a little bit more lifelike. know that not all Asari have purple lips, but both Liara and Samara have sort of purple lavender tinted lips, and I think it's really pretty, and I think it would look pretty on a doll, so I decided to give her some purple lips as well. Once I was done with makeup, it was finally time to put the lashes on. These are just some affordable lashes that I purchased off of Amazon, and I use them all the time now. They come in these long strands that you just kind of cut to the length that you need. I chose to go with black for her and just sort of eyeballed the length. And I only did upper lashes for her. I tried lower lashes and it was just too much, so I decided to do some small painted lower lashes and then the false upper lashes, and I really liked the effect it gave. Once her makeup and lashes were all done, it's time to put her head back on her body. And since I didn't take her body apart for the dyeing process, the string is still there, which is kind of unusual for dyed dolls. Normally I have to toss the neck string and use a zip tie. So, but happy to have saved it. It's just really cool after working so long to finally get to put her together. I think this is the most time I have ever spent on one doll in particular. I want to say, if I'm not counting drying time, so like the curing time for the epoxy sculpt or the drying time for paint, I want to say I have a little bit over 28 hours in this doll. Something like that. Most of those probably went towards sanding. Sanding and painting and repainting. So this is definitely a labor of love. As I said in the first video, this is a very like niche project, but I'm just so happy and relieved to finally be able to put her together. Now, figuring out what outfit she should wear was kind of tricky because there's just not a lot out there. Y'all know that sewing is not really my strong point. It's just not my thing. It's too fiddly, and I like to just sort of, feel my way through things. I don't like, using measurements. I don't like, it's fiddly, it's time consuming, it's not my thing. So I bought this spacesuit. It's for 18-inch dolls, but it's very silvery. It's too silvery. And I was looking at colors that the Asari wear, and mostly they wear like red and black and white, sort of, and mostly like bodysuits or maybe tunics, very like futuristic looks. So I had this crazy idea to like use some water and mix up some red with like some browns and make this sort of like rusty grungy color, and then just sort of like splatter it over the jumpsuit, you know, to kind of give it like this rough lived in leather look, like, I don't know, like she's been battling her way through the galaxies, and this is like her favorite jumpsuit. And so it's a little bit like, it used to be really nice, but she's, you know, just gone through so many battles and wars wearing it that, you know, it's kind of like, it's kind of a little lived in, you know, but it still looks good. I don't know. I had a whole story in my head. I don't know that it came out exactly the way I wanted to, but I was kind of surprised, like pleasantly surprised with the texture. I think the texture looked really cool when it was finished. I ended up doing 2 coats of this. I'm finally done with my Asari American Girl doll, and so happy with how she's come out. I'm not as happy with the jumpsuit, to be honest. I think that the texture looks amazing. I love the color. I just don't know that I love it for her. In the games, you know, the Asari outfits always looked very polished, very put together, very like professional, and this sort of has like a little bit of a rougher, grungier look, and I think it's really cool. I just don't know if it's like the perfect look for her. So I don't know, maybe I'll do a future video where I come up with a better outfit, but this was the best I could do with the time I had, with the amount of time I put into her, and just, it's such a personal project. I just don't think there's any way that I could imagine selling her. Like, I'm just this was such a personal doll, for me, and oh, I love the way that the back of her head looks popping out of that jumpsuit. I think that looks really cool. Overall, I'm really happy. Obviously, there could have been more sanding. 14 hours wasn't enough. But I'm definitely planning on keeping her. I love her, and I've decided to name her Sarafa Tanor, which was actually an Asari name created on an online generator. I hope that you all enjoyed this series. I know it was a little bit different, but thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.